Today we are discussing about the second task in Cognifyz Power BI internship, in which we have to perform gender-based analysis. Our objective in this task is to analyze and visualize gender-based differences in investment preferences, and there are two steps in this task. Firstly, we have to find a visual comparison by creating charts comparing investment choices of equity, mutual fund, and government bonds based on gender, and then we have to derive an insight from these visualizations. So let's start our task. Firstly, I'm setting the background of the canvas into 10% of gray, and then setting its transparency into 50 to better for visualization. Now I'm importing my data by using get data and then text.csv, and then I'm importing the data, and now I'm loading it. As we check the data types and null values in our task 1, so we did not need to recheck it again. Now our data is uploaded. Now I'm setting the title of this dashboard. And I'm making a little bit modification to this title by setting its font size into 36 and making it underlined and in the center. Now I'm choosing the column that we have to use in this task. Like, we have to perform a gender-based analysis, so I select the column of gender, and then we have to perform investment choices like equity, MART, government bonds. And mutual fund, so I'm selecting these columns. And for this visualization, I'm setting gender on x-axis and equity, MART, mutual funds, and government bonds into y-axis, and I'm setting a summarization into count, like count of equity, MART, count of mutual fund, and count of government bonds. And now I'm seeing which chart is better represented over data. I think so stock column chart is better represented over data. So I'm now just copying the first visual and pasting it. In this visualization, all the things are same, just we have to change the chart type, and on y-axis the equity, MART, mutual fund, and government bonds, we summarize this count. We change this count into sum because we already defined the count function in the first visual, so I'm now taking the sum of all these investment choices into second visualization. Now I'm making a little bit modification into name of the columns. And now I am open the data labels, in both the visualization. As we make the data label on, so we did not need to y-axis on or title on, and I use this modification into both the visualization. I'm also removing the title of y-axis, but if you think that these things represent your data in a better way, then you can use the x-axis and y-axis title. I'm removing it because my data labels already defined that what is our data, so we did not need to use a y-axis. Now I'm creating a measure for counting the male in gender column and counting the female in gender column using a column rows and filter, and then the name of our data set and name of our column in data set, and setting the gender into male and female. I find this by using both for male and female, that how many males and females in our data set. But as you can see that in the count of equity market, mutual fund and government bonds by year, we already define our males and females in our data set. But in this visualization, males and females are defined by separately, like how many males are in equity market and mutual fund and government bonds, separate in a separate way, in which investment factor has how many males and females. If you wanted to represent this data in the form of chart visualization, you can do that. But if you wanted to represent this data into the form of visual cards, then you can also do that. It's up to you. There's little bit error in this measure. I'm using the age column instead of gender column. so this error comes due to this. Now you can check our Maya. It can represent it over data. Like I'm just copying this visual card and then pasting it and changing the male Maya into female Maya. And now you can see that we have 25 males in our dataset and 15 females in our dataset. Same thing can be represented in the form of visual. I think that in the form of this cluster chart, we better represent our data. So I'm removing this Maya, but if you think that these visual card represent better your data, you can use this instead of this visual. Now I'm defining the sorry. Now I'm defining the key insights that we can derive from these two visualization. Firstly, I'm defining the number of female investors and number of male investors in investment choices of equity, MAR, mutual fund, and government bonds. Like we have 25 males and 15 female investors in our dataset. So I define it in the form of key insights. And now I'm defining the second key insights. Like in our data set, in the case of female investors, the amount of equity marked is 50 and the amount of mutual fund is 41 and the amount of government bond is 65 in the case of female investors. And I represent the same insight for the male investors. Like we have equity marked, the amount of equity marked in the male investor is 89 and the amount of mutual fund is 61 and the amount of government bond is 121 in the case of male investors. So this is all in our second task of Cognifyz Power BI internship, in which we have to perform a gender-based analysis on the three investment choices of equity market, mutual fund, and government bonds. And one more important thing in this task, if I'm using the different file, I'm using the same file and making the separate file for each task. But if you think that you can make all the files, all the tasks, you can wanted to perform all the tasks in the single file, you can do that. It's completely up to you. And you can see here in the end that there is written the page 1. If you wanted to rename this page as your gender based analysis, you can do that. And lastly, also change the color of these visualization by going into view tab. If you think that your data can be represented better in the other form of visualization, other colors which you wanted to do, you can change it. There's also a customize option in our dataset that we can use for colors. But if you wanted to make the colors of the bar chart, you can see the journal setting. And now our second task in Cognifyz Power BI internship is completed. This is all the things that we have to do in our second task. Thank you.